morning. Good morning. We are back. This is Coffee and Sports. This is the morning show. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and to my right, I got the man that always knows better because he's Mo better. Good morning, Mo.
Hey, good morning, Gene. Good morning, everybody out there joining us.
Doing my best to do the ones and twos. You know, it's difficult. I'll tell you, like, what I do is I share everything out. I try to get everybody all within that intro page. All within that intro video is extremely tough to do. But so if you see me looking down, you know what I'm doing. That's okay. We're going to get rolling. Good morning, Key.
Good morning, Key.
We got a lot to get into today. And I normally like to I'm a meat and potatoes guy, right? Not sure how you are, but like the first slab of bread, the appetizer, I like the middle of the show to be the meat and potatoes. When we get to that 10-minute mark, I want to get into the NBA and talk about last night's game. But before we do that, a fun thing happened not a fun thing. It wasn't really fun for Bryce Harper, but something happened last night in the Phillies game that I just don't think would have happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I know it wouldn't have happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Spencer Strider, much maligned pitcher from Atlanta, one of their aces, still coming back. Was it on purpose? I don't know. I doubt it was on purpose, but he's a super controlled pitcher. Hits Bryce Harper with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball on the elbow. Takes Bryce Harper out of the game. Obviously, the Phillies and Braves have a storied rivalry, and it's those two teams hate each other. There's no love lost, right? The Braves are the better team in the National League a couple years in a row, and the Phillies took them out in the playoffs those same couple years in a row. So there's no love lost there. And then Spencer Strider obviously made comments about having no fans in the stadium. He made like this whole thing like, I just don't have fans like in the stadium. One of the softest comments a player could ever have. The Phillies fans let him hear it. They don't like each other. Bryce gets hit in the elbow, taken out of the game. The Phillies do not retaliate. Now, I'll speak to Rob Thompson's. I'll defend him for a second. The Phillies won the game 2-0. It was 1-0 for the majority of the game. Ranger Suarez isn't really the pitcher that you want to send a message with. I don't know when they should have done it, but I feel like they should have done it. But I guess it backfires if you throw at Acuna and then Matt Olson's batting with a chance to tie the game with one swing, then you get crucified in the media for that. Mo, what I would like to know is, what is your thoughts on that? You know, a star player gets thrown at by a star pitcher. He gets knocked out of the game for injury. 25 years ago, somebody's getting a ball thrown at the chin. It's happening.
Yeah. I'm enough of a baseball fan to know this, that what I always remembered about baseball, and I've actually been privileged enough to see my share of live baseball games, which, by the way, I still think is the best event of all the three major sports, in my opinion. That said, when you hit a star player, usually the retaliation is immediate. You pluck the other guy's guy. That's what happens. That's what I know. And it isn't one of those, what anyone are we going to wait for it? It's like immediately it happens, the first opportunity. And it's not a secret. You know it's coming. Even the guy that's going to get hit sometimes knows it's coming. And then usually both teams are clear the decks, right? And they're out there and they're kind of semi-brawling or whatever. Today's baseball is different. And I'm with you. You know more about baseball than I do. That's a major shift in baseball that something like that would stand. And I guess I'm more old school. We wouldn't let that ride. We wouldn't let that ride. We wouldn't be concerned with who might come up, the time of game. You hit our guy, we're going to hit your guy. It's really that simple.
My guy, you're not more old school because me and you are just, I feel the same. I've played sports my entire life. It is an eye for an eye. And if you allow someone to throw at your best player and you do not retaliate, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do it again. And if all it takes is you throwing at Bryce Harper and he might not play the rest of the series. Luckily it sounds like he didn't, it's just a stinger, just hit him really hard. on the elbow, took him out of the game. It was painful. He wakes up today, it's swelling. They're not playing him today. So you got a whole game without him yesterday. You get a whole game without him for no retaliation. I'm not saying to go out there and try to hurt somebody, but you got to let them know that if you throw at our best player, if you hit our best player, we're not going to lay down and allow that to happen. Now, Zach Wheeler pitches tonight for the Phillies. And the talk already on Phillies radio is, when is Zach Wheeler going to throw it? Is it going to be the first batter of the game? But see, the problem with that is, right, if Zach Wheeler starts the game tonight and throws it Ronald Acuna Jr. to lead off the game, and they eject Zach Wheeler for obvious retaliation, you just lost your ace for the whole game versus the Braves. So I don't do that either. Do you retaliate tonight?
No, because like you said, you're still trying to win the game. This is your ace. I can't have him plug somebody right away. I can't have him do that. And that's tough. It's almost like they lost an opportunity. They should have done it. They should have done it when they should have done it. And now you have to re-strategize and try to win this game.
I'll never forget the playoff series between the Dodgers and the Mets, where Chase Utley took a very hard slide in the second base, and he broke one of the guy's ankles at second base. Forget the guy's name. Somebody in the chat will know, and they'll post it. But they waited until April, and Noah Syndergaard threw behind, and it's one of the best viral videos ever, because you have the manager for the Mets yelling. He's like, "When do we get our chance? He hurt our guy." He's like he's screaming at the official because they threw Noah Syndergaard out immediately. It was obvious retaliation. He threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball behind Chase Utley's back. I love the way Chase Utley plays the game, but I know Chase Utley went up into that box knowing that a ball was coming at him.
Right.
He took a guy out in the playoffs. The Mets are like, we're not going to waste an out in the playoffs, and waited until April to throw at him. They waited they let that shit stew for 5-6 months before they threw at him. Same thing happened with Rhys Hoskins it's one of the greatest videos you'll ever watch. The Mets plunked Rhys Hoskins, threw at him. His next at bat, he hits a home run, and he takes the longest Cadillac trot around the bases you will ever watch. I just missed Ruben Tejada. Thank you. I just missed the old school aspect of baseball in which you throw at our guy, we throw at your guy. And if you want to throw down and fight, we're going to be ready to throw down and fight. You look at these new school guys. I look at the Phillies and Braves now. There's about 4 guys on both teams, I think, that would be ready to throw hands. Castellanos, Schwarber, Harper. You go to the other side, you got Olsen. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't seem like a guy that's ready to throw hands? I look at what happened, and I would love to see a moment tonight. If the Braves are up 5 or 6 runs, or the Phillies are up 5 or 6 runs, you throw a reliever in the 7th or 8th inning, and he just fought. And I'm not saying throw at their head. Throw at their hip. Throw at their elbow. Throw at their leg. But let the message be known that you cannot throw at our best player and not expect retaliation.
I love that. I'm with that. You don't have to throw at their head. Just throw it to where they brush them back. Brush them back. Let them know that we didn't forget about what you did to our guy. That's all I'm saying. Make the guy that's up there uncomfortable.
That's exactly what that's exactly where I'm at, right? And by the way, another baseball news, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, this guy, I just don't know. He becomes the third Dodger ever to reach 20 home runs in 55 games. Ohtani is once again, after a little bit of a slow start, back to being Shohei Ohtani. He's batting 300. He's got 20 home runs already. I'm making a statement. When it's all said and done, Shohei Ohtani will be the greatest baseball player we've ever watched.
Wow.
The guy's got multiple MVPs ready. He's about to start pitching again. He's one of the most prolific hitters. He's 50 home runs waiting to happen every year. First player in MLB history to have 50 homers and 50 stolen bases in a season. And he's a top 5 pitcher in baseball when he's pitching. The way this man affects baseball is just different. Your thoughts on Shohei?
Look, he's amazing. He's a natural. The question I would have is not about what he'll do while he's playing. With Shohei, my concern is how long is he going to play? Is he gonna have a 15-year career or what? I know while he's playing, he's going to be one of the 3 best, if not the best player in baseball. But is he going to play? Is he going to have a long, illustrious career, or is his career going to be more like a shooting star?
You know, it's funny. I thought about that too. I thought about what you just said. And I want to ask you a question. Do you know how many years Shohei Ohtani has been in Major League Baseball? Take a guess. It's okay because I was way off.
I don't know, 5 years.
I said the same thing. I thought it was 5 or 6. This is now his 8th season in Major League Baseball. It feels like he's been like newer, right?
Right.
It feels like you're saying, do you think he'll play 7 more years? I think he will. Like, and knowing what you know now, he's 30 years old. He's got 8 seasons under his belt. The guy, his stats are so silly. Like, just reading you his last 3 years. Last year, he batted .310, 54 home runs, 59 stolen bases. He batted .304 the year before with 44 home runs. The guy's got 3 MVPs already. I just, what he does in baseball is silly. It's just not, it's not human.
He makes baseball look easy.
Right.
And it's not easy. It's not easy, but he makes it look easy.
And not only did he do that, like he did it. It's funny because like I looked at his pitching splits too. Now, granted, he didn't pitch a ton. He's never thrown over 100 innings in a season. But, well, that's wrong. I don't know why I just said that. But he has another, like a career ERA that's 3. And 2 years in Los Angeles, he had a 28-game start, 15-game winner with a 2.33 ERA. Like, come on. This guy is too good. I almost want him to be less good. But we're watching greatness.
Nah, look, if he's going to play another 7 years, 8 years, barring a major injury, I think you're right. He's going to rewrite some record books. He's going to add another, 3 or 4 MVPs to that tally. Like, and he's probably going to win another, let's say, 2 or 3 World Series.
And he might win 2 or 3 more MVPs. He's got 3 already. Like, he's the odds-on favorite to win again this year. He's got 20 home runs. He's batting .300. Well, like, and he's going to start pitching again. All right. What I tell you about the meat and potatoes, Mo?
It's your favorite part, man. It's your thing.
It's the middle of the show. It's 9:15. It's time to talk about last night's basketball game. The meat and potatoes for me. Now, to be fair, on Wire to Wire last week, well, I think it might have been on Coffee on Sports, but I said after the Knicks went down 2-0, I still think this is a 7-game series. I said I think they lose game 4, they win game 5, and game 6 determines the outcome of the series.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks are down 3-1. I think I'm one of the only people that thinks the Knicks aren't out of it. Now, the Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't know if we have any. Do you have any update on Karl-Anthony Towns?
I saw him in a post game. He said he was sore, but he said he planned on playing. That's all I know. So up to this point.
All right. So they got a day off. They're going to go play in New York for game 5. Maybe I'm that guy where I'm very just overly optimistic. I don't want the series to end. The series has been so good. It's been such great back and forth basketball. This series deserves at least 6 games. If the Pacers close it out in 6, I'm okay with that. But I want at least 6 games. Give me another banger in New York. Give me another banger in Indiana. I love watching this basketball. And granted, last night, the Pacers did exactly what they did the other night. They but they didn't let their foot off the gas. They didn't allow the Knicks to get back in the game. And I'll say this, right? The Knicks have won one game in this series. And the final score of that game was 106-100. And before this series started, we said the same thing, Mo. The Knicks wanted to win this series. They cannot get in that up and down pace with Indiana. They just can't. They can't do that. Last night's was 130-121. The first game was 139-136. But the game the Knicks won was 106-100. I think it's a huge difference when and you see it in the first quarter last night. 38-35 after one, not going to be a good night for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Look,
I thought that the Pacers came out and immediately established their game. They were going to run when they had opportunities to run fast breaks or on unmade shots. They're pushing the ball up all the time. And I think this gets lost sometimes when you watch this series. You watch Jalen Brunson, and throughout the game, you can see his energy levels. By the fourth quarter, he's beat. He's worn. I mean, he's just worn down. And it's because he carries such a major load on the offensive end. And then on the defensive end, to his credit, Rick Carlisle made a point to attack him. He put Jalen Brunson in 25 pick and rolls. He was not going to let him rest, which is smart, which is very smart. Don't let their best player rest on defense. And he was worn down because I heard people say, well, in the last 8 minutes, he only took 3 shots. And I'm like, he was tired. He was physically worn down. And that's when he needed Towns or Bridges or somebody needed to pick him up. And they just weren't able to do that. I'm watching this series play out, and people are talking about how bad the Knicks defense is. No, it hasn't been great. But I'm more disappointed in the fact that they've allowed Indiana to dictate the pace of the game.
That's 100% accurate. They're dictating the pace of the game.
Yeah, Halliburton is orchestrating the pace of the game, and I'm frustrated. I'm watching the game last night, and they're doing a brush screen. It's just a brush screen, but it creates the mismatch they want, and then he attacks and gets downhill, and he's in the teeth of your defense, and he's either scoring or kicking it out to somebody else, and I'm yelling at the screen, Tom, you got to run a second defender at him and get him off the ball. You can't let him dance in space. If I'm coaching the Knicks, when Indiana takes the ball out, I'm guarding him with 2 players to make him give the ball up. I'm gonna die on the sword that I don't believe nobody else on Indiana can play make the way he can play make. They don't have a lot of shot creators on that team. They have a lot of guys that can finish, but who's the other shot creator on that team? There are none, other than maybe McConnell coming off the bench as a backup, but everybody else is a finisher or a catch and shoot guy. I'm getting the ball out of his hands. He's not going to dictate the tempo of the game. And Thibodeau never did that. They run 2 defenders at Brunson. Why wouldn't you do the same thing to disrupt their offense? And he never did that.
I couldn't agree with you more. The other thing I wanted to mention, and you talked about them on defense making Jalen Brunson work hard. On offense, they're making Jalen Brunson work hard. The way Naismith is playing, he has to work so hard to get off of Naismith. Like, he has to work so hard to get around those screens. And the Pacers will overhedge the screen to get the ball out of Brunson's hand. And then the Knicks, what do? They reset and try to do it again. They give the ball back to Brunson. And like, it's 7 seconds left in the shot clock, and Brunson's still fighting around a screen. Like, he's working hard offensively. He's working hard defensively. And if we were talking about importance in this series, Tyrese Halliburton is the most important Indiana Pacer. I don't know who's second, because my answer right now might be Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
What they've done as far as a coaching staff, he's outplayed his counterpart more than anyone's outplayed their counterpart, in Carlisle outplaying Thibodeau. I just see it. I see it just like you do. And as much as I like the Knicks, I do like the Knicks. I'm one of the few Philadelphia fans because they're the Nova Knicks, right? Like, you got Mikal, you got Jalen, you got Josh. Yeah, Dante last year. I root for them still. I rooted for them in college. I'm not going to give up on the kids, but watching them develop, and I just kind of want them to win. And when you watch Indiana, they just play a lot smoother. Last night, Halliburton had 32, 15, and 12. You cannot let a player dictate the game that much, that he has 32 points and 15 assists. If every one of those assists were 2-point shots, which they weren't, that means he accounted for 62 points at minimum.
Right.
Now, I know 3 open threes already that it probably accounted for 70 points last night. You can't allow one player to do that. You just can't do it.
And not just that he had the numbers that he did that, Gene, and he had 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen in the NBA and in the NBA. When a guy has the ball that much and so much is centered on him, even if he plays a terrific game, he's going to have 3 or 4 turnovers. He had no turnovers, which tells me 2 things. 1, yes, he was excellent, but 2, the Knicks were not physical with him at all. They didn't attack him. He was so comfortable last night. I felt like he felt that he was playing in practice. He could do no wrong. He could do whatever he wanted. He literally dictated the game and picked and chose what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. He dominated the game because I just felt they had a hands-off approach with him, and they should be approaching him or playing him, even though they have similar skill sets, the same way the Pacers play Brunson. Make him grind it out. Make him feel your body on him. Halliburton is being allowed to play with a lot of space. Watch on the other end. Brunson is not playing with no space. Nesmith is basically wearing Brunson's jersey. He is into him. Watch it on the other end, and Mikal Bridges is giving Halliburton way too much space, way too much respect because of his quickness. You have to get the ball out of his hands and make someone else beat you. And I don't know why we're this deep into this series and Thibodeau hasn't figured that out.
You know what else you noticed about Indiana? Another guy off their bench yesterday had a great game for them. And this is not the first time this has happened. I call him instant. He's oatmeal. He's instant oatmeal. The guy's microwave. Benedict Mathurin is offense, right? You put him on the court and he is making his shots. He is offense, right? When you look at that Pacers team, they are littered with guys that can just come in the game and make an impact. But sometimes Ben Shepherd's 3-point shots on. TJ McConnell has been a part of a huge. Obi Toppin has had some huge plays for them. Like, they've had games where a guy or 2 off their bench will absolutely figure it out. Now, on the other end, the New York Knicks, and as much as I love Josh Hart grabbing rebounds, you know what I see in him, man? And I really, it took me a while to see this because I'm a Villanova fan, and I've watched him at Villanova, and I've watched him play in the pros now for years. He's developing into Russell Westbrook. He's the same friggin' player. All gas, no breaks, dumb turnovers, hustle plays. It's just can't shoot. Like, it's almost like I'm watching like a pre-Russell Westbrook.
No, I think when you see bad Josh Hart, he looks a lot like the current version of Russ.
Yeah.
But when Josh Hart is staying in his lane, defending at a high level, rebounding, taking charges, doing those little things, getting 50-50 balls that help you win games that he was doing since Nova, I love that Josh Hart. When Josh Hart tries to be a playmaker, I don't want that Josh Hart. I don't want Josh Hart trying to throw lobs. I just need him to stay in his lane. And too many times he tries to do things that he's never been known for doing. He's not an offensive player. He is very good in the open floor. I'll give you that. But in a half-court set, I just want you to play defense, or on offense, I just want you setting screens. I want you hitting the boards, doing what you do best. He's not an offensive player. Bad Josh Hart is the current version of Russell Westbrook. I agree with that 100%. And I hate that because it's funny. You talked about the Nova players. Of all the Nova players, I don't know why, he's always been my favorite.
Yeah, we talked about this before. Mikal was my favorite at Nova. I really just love the way he played basketball. I always rooted for him. And when the Sixers drafted him, man, I was so excited. And that lasted all of about 14 minutes.
Yeah, it was quick.
Before they traded him to Phoenix. Why his mother worked for the organization, like how callous and heartless of a franchise do you have to be to draft Mikal Bridges and then trade him while his mother works for the organization? Ugh.
Yeah, that was cutthroat. Because I also remember, I think they interviewed her when they drafted him.
Yes.
Because she was talking about how proud she was, excited that he was coming home, and all that kind of stuff. And then he got sent to Phoenix. So yeah,
it's okay though. No, we got a star player in his place. We got Zaire Smith.
Yeah, you did get that guy.
He plays for Shanghai right now, bro. He's playing for Shanghai. I'm making that up. I think he plays on the G League team. I don't know where he plays. I'm just kidding. But Zaire Smith for Mikal Bridges, looking at it in hindsight, a guy that the Nets just got 5 first-round draft picks for. I'm not saying the Nets shouldn't have got 5 first-round draft picks for him. But are we serious right now? I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
It's tough because I'm with you. I want the longer series. As a fan, I want an entertaining series. The series is 3-1, but the games other than one have been relatively close. Like those have been nail-biting games, and I want to see more. And I'm weird. I'm like you. I'm still thinking like, so the Knicks are going to win the next game, right? And then we come back to Indiana for Game 6 for a dogfight. And it's if it happens, here's the thing. The beauty of sports is if the Knicks win the next game and we go back to Indiana for Game 6, even though they're up 3-2, all the pressure shifts back to the Pacers.
Correct, because you're going to want to go back to the Garden for Game 7.
Right, correct. So yes, technically in my head, I'm thinking you just got to win the next game to shift the momentum, even though you're down 3-2. So I'm, as the sports fan in me says, there's still a chance this goes 7.
I'm guess you're referring to last night being the only game that wasn't close, because
Yeah.
the other 3 and last night still had its moments. When Halliburton hit that big 3, like with about 6-7 minutes left in the game, like that was when I felt like the game was almost out of reach. But the Knicks got down to 9. They got it down to 7. I didn't feel like the game was out of reach.
It wasn't out of reach, and I agree with that. But I guess my feeling as I watched the game, I never thought the Knicks were going to get over the hump. I never felt like they were going to win.
Also, if you go back to Game 1 and the Knicks do not blow that game, it's a 2-2 series going back to New York. And I know you can't like rewrite history, have revisionist history, because I guess the Pacers did blow Game 3 being up 22. So I just felt like what happened with the Knicks was even worse than Game 3 with the Pacers blowing a 20-point lead, 13 at the half. The Knicks went on that run at the end of the second quarter. It was 13. It didn't feel that daunting. What happened in Game 1 was, that was perfect for the choke sign. Like,
Game 1 is going to be one of those games we'll be talking about years from now, because of how it ended up finishing out. And by the way, I'm so with Cottrell. I'll be honest, I didn't even know Landry Shamet was still in the league. So I did not understand that move. I was like, is that Shamet on the floor?
Oh, you can't miss him. His hairline will tell you exactly who it is. But Tibbs is realizing he needs to look. Kenny Smith had the line of the series. Tibbs wouldn't play 9 guys if he was if he was a baseball coach.
Wow.
That was the line of the series. And it's funny. Tibbs is realizing he needs to get deeper in his rotation, but he's just throwing anybody on the floor. Landry Shamet on the floor in the 4th is malpractice. It's a great line, sir.
I agree, Cottrell, 100%.
Mo, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to. We were on there yesterday and we talked about it a little bit. But I'm going to be the guy. Told you Thunder in 5.
You did.
I told you the Minnesota Timberwolves were not that good. They played a Golden State team without Steph Curry. They played a Lakers team that had no rim protection for a team that loves to drive down the middle of the basket. I don't think this game's close tonight. I think Oklahoma City beats them by double digits. I think you might see a close first half, and I think you see an avalanche, an absolute Oklahoma City avalanche in the second half. I could see this game ending by 25 or 27 points. Oklahoma City does not have their starters on the court with 4 minutes left to go in the game. Do you see tonight's game any differently than me?
I think the only thing I see different from you is I think it's a close first quarter, and by halftime they're up double digits, and by the third quarter the double digits evolved into 20 points or more. I don't see this being a good game because I have to repeat what I've been repeating. Anthony Edwards is going to have to outplay Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's just to make it a great game. And I still don't think they win the game because I think that this series, more than any series that I've ever seen him in the postseason in his short career, and it's a very short career, I think Jalen Williams has been absolutely on point on both ends of the floor. He has looked like the perfect sidekick to Shai. You want to know a difference in Oklahoma City? Jalen Williams is stepping up. Chet Holmgren is stepping up. I would call it their naturally formed big three. They're stepping into their roles. If those three are going to play at a high level, I don't care what Anthony Edwards does. And it's not a knock. He can go for 40, but if they're all going to play at the level they're playing at, they're still going to end the series.
If you're going to let the Oklahoma City Thunder get away from Isaiah Hartenstein and play Chet as a small five and let them to get away with it, they're going to do it all day and twice on Sunday. And that's exactly what's been happening. Like, they've been getting away from Hartenstein much earlier. He's just not a good fit in this series. It happens. And Rudy Gobert is not making him pay at all. Like, in fact, the last game, Rudy Gobert didn't even get 10 rebounds. That's insane for someone that you don't do anything but grab rebounds and disrupt people in the paint.
Yeah. It's a horrible matchup for Gobert, though, because even while Chet is 7 feet tall, he doesn't move like a traditional center.
Yeah.
Because Chet can play on the perimeter. He can put the ball on the floor. He's much quicker and more agile than Rudy Gobert. Like, Rudy Gobert is a physically bigger and stronger man, but he doesn't have the offensive package to where he can go, I got Chet on me. He's much smaller. Throw it to me, and I'll get to work. Rudy Gobert doesn't have that skill set. He's a rim protector and a rebounder. That's it. And that is one of the reasons why the Oklahoma City can play that matchup zone the way they're playing it, because nobody cares about Rudy Gobert. They're not guarding him. They don't have to guard him. And on the other side of the floor, to his credit, they've decided we're not putting any more bigs on Julius Randle. We're guarding Julius Randle with Shai or J-Dub or Alex Caruso or Lou Dort. Like, they're putting smaller, quicker guys on Julius Randle, and he has no idea how to deal with that. He is completely flustered.
They're absolutely trying to pick his pocket. And they're making him dribble. And when he has to dribble, like, because they're playing him and they're too quick for him to run around.
Right.
He's not getting close enough to the rim to body them, because Julius Randle would love to put the physicality into them, but they're not getting close enough to the rim to do that. And they're hedging the help off of Rudy Gobert because they're not guarding him.
Right.
So as soon as you get him to the lane, you got a guy like Chet coming over and using his wingspan to disrupt shots. Julius Randle looked terrible. Naz Reid has been a cone. And
Great.
Look, Cottrell, I'll give you all the credit in the world, man. You're one of the biggest Anthony Edwards supporters that I know. And he said, I'm ready to start rolling with the agenda, the Canton man.
I don't want to kill the kid. I'm just simply going to say, let's delay anointing him the face of the NBA. He is still young. We always talk about other people are still young. He's still young too.
We've been saying that though, Mo. We've been saying that on this show numerous times, that delay giving him the face of the league. The NBA wants to anoint him. The media wants to anoint him.
Yeah.
But if we're being completely honest, his play does not want to anoint him.
Facts. Look, it does come down. Look, it has always been a superstar-driven league. And coming into this series, I knew Oklahoma City was the better team, but I wanted to see if he and Shai were going to have this classic back and forth matchup where you were just talking about two great players and great shot making and things of that nature. And he hasn't held up his end of the bargain. He hasn't.
Ant has played one game in these 4 games that was better than Shea.
Right.
And that was game 3 in which they won by 40 points.
Right. Yeah. Facts. Look, I'm an Anthony Edwards fan. But you can't have a must-win game and take 13 shots and go, I made the right basketball play. I'm good with how. There's no way you can be good with how you played. Like I said, if you're gonna lose tonight, tell me you lost tonight and you took 28 shots. You went down. You said, I'm gonna win. I'm going to attempt to win, but I'm gonna be competitive. I can't have Anthony Edwards trying to get by saying I had a good floor game. I don't need that.
But the problem is this, though, Mo. He doesn't know how to beat with, and this is what we talk about. We talked about it in the Knicks series. Let's talk about it in this series. Mark Daigneault is absolutely putting on a display as a coach for Oklahoma City. They're running double teams at him constantly. They're making sure the ball leaves his hand, and they're not trusting that Anthony Edwards can make the right pass. And he can't. He cannot. He has not done that. And what you're saying is you need to go out shooting 28, 30 shots. I think he needs to play efficient basketball and make the right plays when he gets double teamed and find the open guy to get them to stop. To get them to stop doubling him because he can find the open guy. I don't think that's going to happen. And Cottrell says this, game 3, Ant made me think this could be a series. Game 4, Ant made me realize the Thunder win tonight by 30.
I think I'm where Cottrell is. Look, I get what you're saying, and it is true, but here's the thing. The last game, his bench gave them over 60 points.
Yep.
He got 60 points from his bench. He got a 20-point game from Jaden McDaniels. They didn't even need him to have a superstar game. They just needed him to have a good game, and they would have won that game. You can play efficient basketball or you can play effective basketball. He doesn't have to shoot great, but maybe he could take a page from his rival and get to the free throw line 11 times. Do something other than take contested threes.
Oh, and by the way, you bring this up, and yes, that's exactly what it did. 7 contested threes in that game versus Oklahoma City. But I'll say this. I watched this kid at Illinois, and I watched him play a couple games now in the playoffs, and I think Minnesota needs to start really developing Terrence Sharon Jr. I've really been a fan of his in college. He got his offense. He can score, and he didn't have a great year for Minnesota. They gave him a couple opportunities, but the way the offense fits, it really doesn't fit with – I don't know why they drafted him. I think they drafted him because he's one of the few guys that can create his own shot, and he's offense, and Minnesota desperately needs that. But that's not the functionality of that team. It's just not. It's an Ant Edwards centric team. So I think for Minnesota, they need to give Terrence Sharon Jr. more time to score and play offense with him. I think when he's on the court, it's harder to double team Ant because the way he can score the basketball. Now, for Terrence Sharon Jr. to be on the court more, he's got to learn how to pick up defensive assignments. He's got to learn how to close and hedge. He's got to learn how to get around the screen. That's what he needs to do on the defensive side of the ball.
No, I agree with that. Look, the team has always struggled with shot creation outside of Anthony Edwards.
Correct.
Because when you look at how they're built, Julius Randle can play make in certain situations, but that's not a strength. So outside of those two players, they don't have shot creation. They don't have anybody that can say, I'll make something happen for somebody else. They're not built that way. They just don't have a lot of talent. And so I think that's something that they have to address in the offseason. They've got to go out and get another shot creator. They have to get someone else who can just not just create shots, but score as well, so that Ant doesn't always have to be on the ball. And for Ant's part, I think he has to learn how to play without the ball more as well. Like, get in the post. You set a screen for somebody else and make them react, and then you cut back door. Julius Randle, if he's going to be effective tonight, he's not going to catch the ball 20 feet from the basket. Not with Lou Dort on him, not with Caruso on him. Julius Randle's got to get in the post where he can affect games that way, because then he can bring the physicality and use his strength to bully ball them in the restricted area. every time he catches the ball 20 feet away, they win.
And is the only superstar that I constantly have to look for on the court.
I like the way, you know what? That's a great line. The only superstar that you have to look for. That's weird to say when you say that, but that's a great line. Completely agree. Completely agree.
All right, let's switch topics tonight. We both think Oklahoma City wins by a lot. I got a topic for you. It's a fun one. Back to the NFL. Terry Bradshaw is not a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers' prolonged pursuit of Aaron Rodgers. He was on a radio interview in Arkansas, and Bradshaw just destroyed the Steelers. You're talking about Hall of Fame Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw. I'm going to read you some of the quotes. When asked about Aaron Rodgers, he said, "That's a joke. That to me is just a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there." He also called the Steelers' handling of Kenny Pickett a failure. I liked Kenny Pickett. I liked him at Pitt. I know him. I know what he's like. When they got him to Pittsburgh, they didn't protect him. They didn't get him an offensive line. They wanted to run the football, but they didn't have an offensive line that could protect, and they didn't have the weapons. He had no wide receivers to speak of. Then they throw a kid in there for 2 years, and you got an offense that doesn't fit, that doesn't work, that can't run because their offensive line is not even good enough to be a run blocking team. And now they're saying Kenny Pickett is a failure. He wasn't a failure. The Steelers were a failure. Mo, I'd like your reaction to the words of Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw.
So, on the Rodgers part of it, I'm where he is. I don't know why you're bending the knee, waiting for a quarterback over 40 years old to come save your season. And even let's say on some flukish way he does, and he gets you to the AFC title game and you lose. Are you bringing him back for another year? He's not part of your future. I don't understand that either. How does he have that much power over you? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I feel like the way they've handled this offseason, it's like we want to fire Mike, but we'd rather him just have a bad season so it's more obvious to where even the fan base is like, you need to fire Mike. Like, I feel like they're setting Mike Tomlin up for failure. He's gotten by so many times with weak offenses and great defenses, and he's found a way to manipulate them into playoff teams. I think this is the year that's not going to happen. I think this is the year that they do finish under 500. I think Terry Bradshaw was also, I don't think he's completely wrong with the Kenny Pickett situation. I don't think he's wrong. Horrible offensive line, but you wanted to be you want to be a run first team. You put the young quarterback in, and we all know what's a young quarterback's best friend initially? Run game and a good tight end. He didn't have either. How good is he supposed to be? Culture matters. We always say where a young player goes could dictate what his career could or could not be. He was set up for failure. And I love Mike Tomlin, but he's kind of part of the setup. I think Terry Bradshaw is more spot on than I expected him to be. Sometimes you hear these Hall of Fame players and you go, he's a little out of touch. Football's changed. I thought every comment he made was spot on.
I didn't know it. It must have caught him in the morning because I know Terry Bradshaw isn't very aware at night. That's probably not a very good joke for me. But the truth is, he's right, and I don't know what the Steelers are doing. I'll say this. I think that here, I'll make a small prediction for you. And hopefully Cottrell's still in the chat and he can correct me and tell me that there's no way that's happening. I could see Kenny Pickett being traded to New Orleans after Derek Carr has retired. And I can see, because the Cleveland Browns have a loaded quarterback room. They have loaded in a bad way, but it's not like loaded like with a bunch of great quarterbacks, but they have Joe Flacco. They drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. They have Kenny Pickett. They still have Deshaun Watson on the roster, which I'm assuming he'll be IR'd this year, so that won't matter. But they're not going to go into the season with 4 quarterbacks, and I don't see them getting rid of one of their 2 drafted quarterbacks.
Right.
So I think if they can get capital for Kenny Pickett to go play with an offensive coordinator he just played with last year and Kellen Moore as the head coach of the Saints, I could see Kenny Pickett starting for the Saints this year. And the Cleveland Browns can come out of this smelling like roses. They could have gave the Eagles a 6th-round draft pick or a 5th-round draft pick for Kenny Pickett and get a 4th back, because New Orleans is in a situation where they're about to start Tyler Shaw when he's not ready to start a quarterback. You have Kenny Pickett, a guy that's played in Kellen Moore's system now. He looked really good in the game and a half he played for Philadelphia. Can't argue with him. Put up 34 points versus Washington in Washington. Now, maybe it wasn't 34. I think it was 17. But the point being is, like, they had 17 already when he came in. The point is, Kenny Pickett didn't look terrible. And then he dominated Dallas for a half of football. And, yeah, I don't want to say I'm giving up on Spencer Rattler. I know that's I know, I've been vocal that I think Spencer Rattler is a decent quarterback. But Kellen Moore might trade for a guy that he's worked with. And I think that Kenny Pickett could be the odd man out in Cleveland, and Cleveland comes out smelling like roses, just getting extra draft capital for Kenny Pickett. Even if they trade him for a 5th, you're getting a higher 5th than Philadelphia would have had. So you basically picked them up and moved them for next to nothing.
Gene, with Spencer Rattler, how can I put this? Do you feel like he's the kind of quarterback that he could gain from sitting on the bench for a couple of years? Do you know what I mean? Like, is he the type of guy that maybe he develops over 2 or 3 years and becomes a really good starter, or is he somebody that you think in a year's time could be a starter?
I think Spencer Rattler needs the right situation, the right culture, the right team. You look at him at Oklahoma. He was the chosen anointed one. He was projected the number 1 pick in the draft under Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. And he lost his job to Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams came in there, and all the talk about Spencer Rattler being a bad teammate. Videos surfaced about him yelling at his teammates in high school and how he was so much better than them. Spencer Rattler got humbled when he went to South Carolina. Made it to the NFL based off his talent. Do I think that he can see Spencer Rattler's could take a Baker Mayfield trajectory or another Cleveland quarterback, a Johnny Manziel trajectory if he gets benched and sits? I think it's one or the other. It really depends on his attitude. I remember him being projected to be the number 1 pick, and then him falling on his face in Oklahoma under one of the greatest quarterback whisperers in college in Lincoln Riley. So I don't know. I wish I can get inside the kid's head and listen to him and have a conversation, but I don't think New Orleans is the situation. I don't believe in Kellen Moore. I don't believe in his offense. I didn't believe in it in Philadelphia. I just didn't. I think sorry, I got.
No, I was just going to say, I like the way you threw Baker in there, because isn't that the difference between Baker and so many other guys? Baker never lost confidence. Never lost confidence or belief that he could play football at a high level. Never through any ups and downs. It is a testament to his mental toughness. I don't know that much about Spencer Rattler to know that he has that kind of mental toughness to be like, I'm not the guy, even though I think I'm better than the guy that's starting ahead of me. I can be patient. I can wait for my moment. This is where what you said comes into play. He needs to go somewhere where they set him up for success, and they put an offense around this that highlights his skill sets or his strengths.
You see, the problem with that is this, though. He's already in a situation where he was drafted late. They're already drafted a replacement for him. And to me, it's interesting how Kellen Moore doesn't even know who Spencer Rattler is, but drafted a replacement for him. New Orleans is a situation I would just not want to be as a young quarterback. It's very similar to there's a wasteland for young quarterbacks, and they go play in different places and they don't do well, and then they go somewhere else and you're like, oh, well, that guy's a little bit better now. New York, Carolina, Cleveland, there's a lot of wastelands for young quarterbacks. New Orleans is becoming that. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. But I'll say this. I have zero confidence in Kellen Moore. Never have. Don't think he's that good. All right. PFF, we've been going through their rankings, and I think that this is interesting. So they came out with their linebacker rankings, and I want to read it to you. And hearing tier 1 and tier 1, tier 2, and then the way they broke things out, I think you'll find this interesting. Tier 1, number 1 linebacker in football. PFF ranks.
I don't know. Fred Warner.
Fred Warner. I knew you'd say Fred Warner, which is why I pointed at you. You're absolutely correct. Tier 1 ends with Fred Warner. That's it.
That's it? Wow. Okay.
Tier 1, 4-time All-Pro, elite player. Tier 2, Zach Bond, who was an All-Pro last year, 90.1 PFF overall grade, $51 million extension in Philadelphia. Zach Bond was incredible. That's number 2. Number 4 is Roquan Smith, who I think is the second best linebacker in football. Nothing against Zach Bond, but I think Roquan Smith is the second best linebacker in football. Number 5 is Dre Greenlaw, the guy you know that now will be over in Denver.
Wow. I like that.
Now, I skipped number 3 for a reason. Number 3, want to take any guesses who number 3 is?
For linebackers?
Yes.
I'm lost.
It's Bobby Wagner at age 35.
The veteran. Wow.
And granted, what he brought to that Washington defense last year was great. And I can fully understand that. He's 35 years old. He said it led all qualifying linebackers in PFF run defense and pass grades in 2024 with a 91.2 figure against the run, making his 3rd straight season surpassing the 91 threshold. I think that's absolutely crazy.
Look, Bobby Wagner's been a ball player for a long time. It's crazy to think that he can still play at this high a level this late in his career, and they're projecting him to have another excellent season. Look, if he can brush back Father Time like that, more power to it.
35 years old, playing middle linebacker in the NFL
right
at that level is insane. That ends tier 2. Tier 3 is a bunch of guys that you just kind of wish you've seen more from, in my opinion. Bobby Okereke is the top of tier 3 for New York Giants. Devin Lloyd from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just seems to always get lost on the field. Jack Campbell, who's a good run stopper, not a great pass defender. Edgerrin Cooper from the Packers, who's actually a good linebacker. TJ Edwards of the Chicago Bears, who I don't think is as good as they're ranking him. And then Quincy Williams of the Jets, who I think is the best of this group. They have him ranked 11. Quincy Williams.
I like Quincy. I like Quincy Williams better than everybody you just named.
100%.
Because I think he's a natural playmaker, and what I'm trying to figure out is knowing who's in front of him, because you know how this works, right? The guys up front set the linebackers up to get to them. I think Quincy Williams is going to have a monster season.
Especially under Aaron Glenn.
Right.
Especially under a defensive head coach that is 100%. If you watch the Detroit Lions play defense last year, they are aggressive and they attack the football. You gave, and don't take this the wrong way, nothing against Detroit fans. I don't think Detroit's defense was as talented as people thought they were. I don't think they were that good. I think that the defensive scheme was so aggressive that it made people play off balance. And I think the fact that Detroit constantly had the lead, it made teams play from behind and it allowed Aaron Glenn to be aggressive. I don't think they were as good as people gave them credit for. I don't. I think that they were not that good. And I think Aaron Glenn's scheme being so aggressive changed it. Now he has the tools. You have Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner. They're loaded defensively. I would love to see what that Jets defense looks like this year with Aaron Glenn's aggressiveness with those type of ball players. I think Quincy Williams is in for a huge year.
Couldn't agree more, and especially what you said about Detroit. When your defense is playing with a 3 touchdown or so lead most games, you pin your ears back and you go after the other. It's completely different then. You play a different way. So yeah, I think Aaron Glenn and that defense, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a whole problem. The only question with the Jets, I don't want to get too far off the topic, is what they're going to get offensively. But defensively, they're going to be stout. They're going to be one of the top 3 defenses in all football.
I'll tell you right now, and we're wrapping up anyway, so we can get off topic. We're pretty much done the top 10 linebackers. I'll tell you right now, I don't know what it is about the Jets to me. I don't know why I constantly keep falling into this Jets thing, but they went out and got Justin Fields, who's a guy that I am absolutely a fan of. And they basically said, you're our starter. And they gave him the realm. They gave him a college wide receiver that he played with, and Garrett Wilson. Do not be surprised if the Jets go out there and get Chris Olave. The Jets have a hole at wide receiver 2. The New Orleans Saints are looking to move on from him because of his concussions. Do not be surprised if Chris Olave is like a preseason trade between the Jets and the New Orleans Saints. And I would love to see what Fields does with Olave and Garrett Wilson.
I was going to ask you, with Garrett Wilson and Olave, I'm assuming they're going to have a solid run game if their backs are healthy. If you could project Justin Fields' numbers overall, and I always preface everything by saying barring an injury.
Yeah.
What do you think his numbers would look like overall?
I got you. 3,500 passing yards. 1,100 rushing yards.
That's the number I was really more concerned with, because the passing yards were on the same page. I was going to wonder, is he going to take advantage of his elite athleticism? Is he going to make people pay or do what, like if Lamar, and I'm simply saying he can do a lot of things Lamar can do. And he's physically bigger than Lamar. So yes, if he's going to take advantage, or if they're going to run an offense that highlights his freakish athleticism, yeah, I'm with you. I think if he's going to be upright and he has those 2 wide receivers, he's going to be an MVP. He's going to be an MVP candidate, right? Am I wrong?
Look, I'm going to say something to wrap up the show that people are going to think I'm crazy. I don't think there's that much of a difference between Lamar and Justin Fields.
I know you're going to say that.
I just don't. And obviously, but when I look at them play, all right, who throws the ball better? Is it guaranteed that you say Lamar throws the ball better than Justin?
No.
Okay, who runs the ball better? Is it guaranteed that Lamar runs the ball better than Justin? Justin was running the ball for over 150 yards a game in Chicago. Is it guaranteed that you say that? Now, I can tell you who's in a better situation. I can tell you who's in a better organization.
Right.
I can tell you who's been surrounded by a better offensive line, run game, weapons, defense throughout their career. I'm not saying he's Lamar, but if we take off the Scooby-Doo mask, it still might be Scooby-Doo. Let's see who's under this mask.
Right.
Same guy.
I love what your take, because I was going to say, I think Justin Fields can be very Lamar Jackson-like. That's all I was going to say. I don't know why he wouldn't be. Like I said, physically bigger, faster, and this is the first time that he's made a choice, and he's got a team that wants him. So I'm wishing him all the best.
We got to wrap it up. We're at time. It always flies. Mo, appreciate you. Make sure you guys tune in tonight to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. We're on at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Me, Bill, Cottrell, we're going to go at it. Mo, do me a favor and close us out.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.